amazing thing for me, because when I started this 6 years ago, out of a really difficult time and being in a difficult place myself, and not wanting to just rely on drugs, I turned to a biomolecular psychiatrist, which is really just kind of fancy words for like nutraceuticals instead of pharmaceuticals. And I am going to take this off of here and move around. And I said, you know, I really don't want to just be relying on meds. And she said, well, you should try neurofeedback. And I said, what, are you kidding me? Stick electrodes on my head? That's like a car battery. She said, Barry, yeah, shut up, go stick electrodes on your head. It's not a car battery. And I did. And I lived my whole life with anxiety. All I knew was anxiety. I didn't know how to be without anxiety. You know, I grew up in a very military home with a father who was trained military. Everything was military, and this is how I grew up. I didn't know of anything else. You know, it felt very controlling, and it's all I knew. Years later, I wind up in a situation where I lose my mom, going through challenges with my wife, stuff that we all deal with, real life stuff. But I wanted to find a different approach. It's not that I think the drugs are bad, but I wanted to find something that could go beyond pharmaceuticals. So after I had that first session, I didn't feel any anxiety. And I didn't mean to be rude to the doctor, but I looked at this guy and I said, I'm sorry, no offense, I think this is a placebo and you're full of crap. And he laughed and I didn't, because I'm not really a joker. And he goes, okay, we'll see. And I said, yeah, we'll see. So that was a Sunday. Thursday, I started feeling some of that anxiety kind of creeping in a little bit. And I went back and I saw him on Sunday and Monday. And I saw him on Sunday and Monday for 3 months. And after about the third month, I looked at this guy and I said, I think this could be real. He said, what? I said, okay, maybe it's real. I don't know, maybe. After 3 more months of treating with this guy, I said, I need to do this. He said, what do you mean? I said, I need to do this technology. I had founded a nonprofit for women and children with HIV/AIDS since 1993, worked with trauma loss survivors for 2 decades, worked with people in recovery for 3 decades from drug and alcohol dependency, and I said, if this thing does what it has done for me, what is this going to do for other people? What is this going to do for our brothers and sisters coming back who are taking their lives from war? We have to have this as a solution. And my wife said, oh boy, here we go again, another mission. And I said, oh, I have to do this. I feel called to do this. And so I took the technology that I was working with at the time called LENS, which is an acronym for Low Energy Neurofeedback System. And I just went on a hunt all over the world, and I knew that there had to be something. And I said, I'm not a scientist. I'm a man of God, but I will find a way to bring this to people because I believe that God provides, and I'm shut up long enough to listen and hear what needs to be heard. So I met a guy who was an electrical engineer. I met another guy who was a software engineer, and the software engineer has a daughter who has cortical dysplasia, which is a terrible brain dysfunction, and he had helped his daughter with this technology. And I said, I want to hire you, I want to bring you on a team, and I want to create this. And he said, I'll do what I can. And IASIS was born. IASIS comes from the Bible, from the Greek easis, but we don't call this thing the e-phone, we call it the iPhone. So I call it I assist, like I assist you, minus the T. IASIS. Again, easis. And in Greek, it means healing and curative. I wanted to find something in another language, and I thought, well, what does the Bible say? And I found easis. 6 years ago, IASIS was born, and I knew nothing about how to use this thing in terms of helping military first responders. what has happened from that is that I was led to General John Tulin, who was the head of the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force at Camp Pendleton in San Diego. And he heard about this, and he introduced me to all of these high command folks, fancy schmancy people, and Dr. Jones, this doctor who looked at us and said, with Marines flanking me, saying what this did for them. And he sat back and said, let me know when you have research. Thank you very much. This meeting is over and I have to go now. And these Marines looked at him and said, well, have you heard us? We're off our meds. He didn't want to hear it. Not a word, not a word. And I went, all right, we got to get research, because if I'm going to use this on my children, I'd like research. We all want research, and let's face it, in this country and in the rest of the world, if you don't have research, you're a nice person with a nice idea, period, end of story. And I was introduced to Dr. Ming-Shang Huang. Dr. Huang is the head of the Resonance Imaging Lab at the University of San Diego. And basically, he went crazy over this. He said, oh my gosh, if this does, and he said, I'm going to do a study for you. And he turned to his IRB, Institutional Review Board at the University of California, San Diego, which is kind of like the ethics committee. They said yes. Miracle number 1. 6 months later, miracle number 2. A technology that prior to this, people looked at and said, electrodes on the head, forget about it. It's wackadoo. Forget it. It's a joke. The VA said yes. 6 months later, to a pilot study. That study is published in Taylor and Francis Brain Injury Journal. Oh boy, now doctors are looking at this thing and they're going, whoa, wait a sec, what's this going to do to all of our income? Sorry, no offense, but I'm concerned about helping the people, not the income. Right. That's my job. I don't get a salary doing this. My service, when I treat people for whatever they can afford, that's how I feed my family. That's what I do. That to me is God's work, and that's how I function. Somebody comes to me and they go, I don't know what I can, no, just do what you can. You don't even have to tell me, just do what you can. Because that's what it's about. That's what being here for each other is all about. And that's, hi, good evening. Yeah, could it be a little bit cooler? I don't know if it could be a little cooler. You guys are warm. You've been running around too, I know. Welcome. But welcome. You came to the right place. So the pilot study published in September of 17, just published. And it took like 3 years. Why? Because he took the study, and everywhere he went, people said, no, no, no. To the University of California, San Diego, like golden boy researcher, Dr. Ming-Shang Huang. 2 months later, the VA approved a $1.2 million double-blind study on ISS for 175 veterans. Now, the VA is all excited about it. Dr. Ming-Shang Huang has spoken to all of the VA doctors. That talk is on the website, the ISS Tech website, ISS Tech, TECH.com. His talk is on there. Now all of a sudden doctors all over the world are going, well, wait a sec. Why? Because it works. This kicks butt. It kicks butt for so many symptoms. Not in a year, not in old-fashioned neurofeedback that takes 25 before it begins to work. First time.